Happy days, we are live. My apologies, guys. We're actually a little bit late. At the time of going live, I think we're 8 to 9 minutes late over scheduled. So we were actually early. Stuart and I were here 10 minutes before to make sure everything was working okay, which it wasn't. Stuart's audio was not working. So we tried it on his PC, we tried it on his phone, we tried restarting our computers, coming back in. Actually, it turns out the Stuart's audio was fine the whole time. I had my speakers on mute, so I couldn't hear him. And we spent 10 minutes faffing about, but here we are. So, Stuart, thanks for coming on again. I really appreciate coming on and sharing some insights about your physical and health transformation journey. And partly why I was really looking forward to this is because I see so many people trying to get similar results to what you've not only achieved, but also managed to sustain. And now you're kind of switching fire to gaining muscle because you've lost a lot of body fat and you're happy with that. But I see so many people doing the wrong things, like following workout methodologies that aren't going to lead to those results, and also doing some extreme crazy stuff with a diet. So it'd be great to get some insight from you and what's worked from you and what you're still currently doing. But before we get into any of that, can you just give us some background, mate? Who are you? What age are you? Where you from? What do you do for a living? What does family life look like for you?
Certainly, mate. Yeah. So I'm Stuart. I'm 40. I'm 40 last Friday. So I celebrated that over the weekend. It was great. I'm a dad to a little boy, Sam, who's 4 now. I'm an accountant. I live just outside of Manchester. So I have a desk-based job. I've sat at a desk doing that job for 20 years now. So past history is, I had been an active guy all the way through my teens into my mid-20s. Played hockey, mainly football, but mainly hockey. I was pretty good at. We got to my mid-20s, and I decided to take some time off from hockey and put weight on instead, and did that for a few years. I was quite successful at that as well. Before sort of hitting 30, and I got back into hockey, lost the weight again, and then when we started going through the program, when Sam was born, just before that, I finished hockey again, and then got really good at putting weight on and put a lot more weight on, really. So, I've yo-yoed up and down, throughout my life, really, and always probably been, even though I was really active when I was younger, probably always been slightly bigger than I probably would have liked, really.
Yeah, got you. Thanks for that, mate. And just on that one, what would you say was there one particular trigger that caused you to step back and think, right, I really need to change something? Was there something that happened?
Well, there's lots of things, really. I mean, as I put more and more weight on, every time I looked in, it took me a long time to get to the point where I looked in the mirror and I wasn't happy with what I saw. I looked like crap. My clothes weren't fitting me anymore. I felt like crap. I was low on energy, and I wasn't the person that I expected myself to be, really. So, when my little boy was born, still it took me probably a couple of years after that, really, to sort of get to the point where I felt like I need to make a change here. And I was pretty unhealthy at that point, really. Looking back at it, so those were the main things, really. I felt like crap. I looked like crap, and I wanted to, improve my health for my family and my little boy, really.
Yeah, quite right, mate. So, just in contrast to that, how do you feel right now, like in the position you're in now, and what kind of physical progress have you made since then?
Well, physically, I mean, if you looked at some people who are online, or some people in the inner circle will have seen some of the before and after pictures, but physically, it's there for anyone to see who's seen that, really. But I was just having a little look this morning, trying to work out what I've lost nearly 28 kilos since I started on this journey. I've probably lost about 15, 16 kilos since starting the rebirth program with yourself. I guess, what the rebirth did was I lost my body shape changed more drastically at that point.
Yeah.
I lost, the fat loss was more pronounced. So physically, I look a completely different person. Obviously, my physical health is a lot better than it was. I'm fitter and I'm healthier. But again, I wouldn't stop at that. I think it's not just the physical side of things. I'm more confident. At the time, looking back now, the way I was, probably had a fairly serious impact on my mental health as well. Being low in confidence, probably not going out, seeing friends like I used to, and probably affected my work, my confidence in work as well. So over that sort of 2 years plus, which I've been on this journey, if you like, not just physically as it turned around, but mentally, I'm in a lot better place than I was 2.5 years ago as well. So there's a lot to be said for that. It's not, there's a lot about the way you look, but it's also about the way you feel and how that impacts you mentally as well.
Yeah. Have you got some examples, Stuart, of like how these changes have impacted your day-to-day life and the things that you do on a daily and weekly basis?
How the changes have impacted them, or what I've done on a daily basis.
Yeah, what's the bigger impact that this has had on your day-to-day life?
I think, well, definitely. I mean, I'm a much more energetic person now. So I get a lot more done in the day than I did before. So I said more. I've made more time to do active things, which is that's probably increased my work output. It's made me sort of more focused in other aspects of my life, I would say. So I've focused initially on that losing of weight, and that's impacted my confidence. That's also led to me sort of focusing on other areas of my life, really, whether that's better relationships with family, my career, money wise, all sorts, and everything that I've learned discipline wise, and the focus has gone into all aspects of my life, really.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Are you still playing hockey now? Because I do remember you talking about how your performance and stuff had increased in hockey. Is that something you're still doing?
I've got back into hockey. I flirted with the idea, and I did that probably about just over a year ago, and got injured right straight away. And I didn't go back, but I started back early this year, probably May time, and I'm not going to say I'm quite the player that I was when I was in my 20s, but the team that I play for, I'm back up to sort of a pretty good standard again, especially for a 40-year-old running around on a Saturday afternoon. I'm doing pretty well, really.
Great stuff. Glad to hear it. Sorry to hear about the injury and how frustrating that stuff can be.
Those things happen, mate. It was I literally 15 seconds into my return match, and I pulled my hamstring, so it set me back. It set me back a year, really. I just didn't go back after that, and then I tried again this summer. I went back this summer. Again, that's part of the confidence thing. It's got me back into an old circle of friends and different people and things like that, really.
Yeah, awesome. Well done, mate. So, what are the in terms of the actual training side and the physical activity? Can we dive into that a little bit? So, obviously, for the guys that are watching the video or listening, if you check out the thumbnail, you'll see that the transformation, the physical changes that Stuart's made, which are really impressive. What have the workouts looked like that have gotten you to that point? Now, obviously, nutrition and food and other aspects of health wise are a big part of that, and we'll get into that in a little second. Talk about the training side of it first, mate. What is like a week's worth of workouts look like for you? What type of training has helped you get to that stage?
So obviously, when I started with you, what we've worked on and what I continue to do is 3 strength workouts a week. That's what I've focused on for the last 18, 19, 20 months, is what I've incorporated into my weekly I've kept active, which I'll talk about in a minute. But for what I have brought into that's made probably the biggest difference is the strength training. Now, I try and get 3 workouts in a week. But again, that's not always possible. So I try as much to do that, but sometimes it might be 2. Depends on work, depends on what's happening. But my focus is try and get that strength training in as much as possible. In addition to that, I try and make time for being active every day. I've got my dog, and I like to, I walk my dog every day. So I've got, that's a little sort of bonus for me, is that my dog needs a good walk every day. But even if somebody else has taken the dog for a walk in the family, or we've got the dog walker, she's had to take the dog because I'm busy at work or whatever. Yeah. I still try and make myself get some steps in during the day. Up to 5,000-10,000 steps a day. So 2 things. I mean, one is being active. I guess sat around at a desk like I am. Some days can be 8 hours behind a desk or whatever. I try and get active at some point and get a few thousand steps in, and then my strength training 3 times a week. And then, as we said, in the last 6 months or so, I've got back to hockey. But for the majority of the time that I've been losing the weight and the body transformation, it's been walking and 3 strength training, 3 times strength training every week.
Yeah, and we'll dive into the context and what the typical workout might look like. But just to reiterate again, where I see a lot of people making the mistakes, and there's a lot of misconceptions on how to get the kind of results that you've got, Stuart. A lot of people would call it a toned looking body, as fitness people call it lean. So there's a lot of misconceptions in relation to cardio, and I don't want to bash cardio or circuit training or HIIT training. That stuff's all good. It all plays a part in improving your health, improving your fitness and stuff. But if you want to look toned or athletic or have good muscle definition, you have to. It's a process of making the muscle bigger over a long period of time and then making the muscle stronger, and not necessarily lots of workouts where you're panting and breathing hard and sweating buckets, and it feels really, really difficult. It feels like you've been absolutely destroyed by the end of it. A lot of people go to that kind of stuff with a misconception that that's burning the fat, but it's just not true. Yeah. What burns the fat is getting your nutrition right and being in that calorific deficit. That's going to help get all the excess unwanted weight off, and then just being generally active. Just walking around, that makes you healthy. And then as a supplement on top of that, those workouts a few times a week. And it's not about trying to burn as many calories as you can, as fast as you can. It's what those strength workouts are going to do for you 1 year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, because muscle gain and development is so slow in comparison to how fast we can lose weight and lose body fat. But by the time we've spent a couple of years increasing our muscle mass, a lot of people also are worried that they'll bulk up and get massive, and they don't want that. But it's not really the case. Unless you're on TRT, testosterone therapy, or taking PEDs, which is performance enhancing drugs, you just don't blow up. It's a total misconception that unless you've got fantastic genetics, gaining muscle is quite a hard thing to do. It's very, very, very slow. Yeah. So, can you give us an example of what one of your recent workouts look like? What kind of exercises are involved in there, and most of the format of doing that, mate?
So my recent sort of exercises, I guess, they're a continuation really of what we started at the very beginning, but mine have just developed, and as I've got confidence with the weights, and I've got more confidence in what I'm doing. It developed slightly. I still concentrate on the pulls, the pushes, the squats, all that sort of core stuff is incorporated in my weekly workouts in some sort of format. I've kind of switched up now to a upper, lower, upper kind of routine in recent weeks and months. and I've probably started to spend a little bit longer in the gym than I was previously, where my previous, for 18 months would be somewhere around about 50 minutes or just over an hour in the gym. Whereas now that I've got to this point, like you said before, I'm looking to build muscle a little bit more now. I'm probably spending slightly longer in the gym than I was before, but I'm still concentrating on those major sort of muscle groups really, and just making sure that those getting the right number of workout, the right number of hits in the week. So keeping it simple, I'm not doing anything extraordinary or anything different than I was doing a year ago. It's just heavier weights,
a little bit more volume.
The volumes maybe a bit, and it's gone up a little bit. And again, as time goes on, your confidence, your form improves, and you're probably getting you're getting a little bit more out of each workout, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you give us an example on, because something that's really important and people don't, it's a big mistake a lot of people make again, is just not progressing with their exercises. So when we're talking about building strength over a long period of time, we want like a few key exercises that we increase over time. So for example, if we use a bodyweight exercise for an example, like a press up, if you can do 10 press ups just now with really good form, once you get to 30 or 40 press ups, when you have that ability, because of the journey and the progress you've made, like your upper body's going to change for that, your core's going to be stronger for that, etc., etc. And one thing a lot of people don't do enough of is keeping track of these things and setting little goals and targets with their exercises. They just have workouts that they kind of they hit them off the bat. They're kind of winging it. They're changing things up too often. They're not progressing with some key exercises. Can you give us some example of an exercise or two that you've made progress with? Like, can you remember what kind of weights you started on it and where you might be with that now?
Well, I made a few notes this afternoon. When we first started, again, we talk about press ups here. I think when one of the first videos we looked at was getting the press up form right, doing these press ups properly. And I think probably at the time when I probably maybe did 6 or 7 proper press ups in one go, maybe less. Over a period of a lot, where I am now is I'm probably doing. I still have press ups in my weekly routine. I still do, 4 or 5 sets of press ups in every week in my workouts. But now I'm on what we'd say is a deficit press up, where I've got the dumbbells. And I've got bars. I use dumbbells or kettlebells if I'm in the gym, and I use a step, like a step, and I do just to get the extra depth in my press up. And so that's the progress I've made just on those. Another one I've put is pull-ups, where I couldn't do any when I started, and now I can probably do. These are in my weekly workouts, where I'll do, and 3 sets of 10 or something like that. So the volume's just increased. The stronger I've got. So those are some simple things. Bench presses again. That weight's just gone up and up and up, and now it went up quite quickly, and now it's starting to sort of gradually, slowly go up now. But those are things that that I've seen.
What kind of weight you bench pressing at the moment with is it dumbbell bench presses you're focusing on, or are you using the barbells yet?
Yeah, I mean, again, a lot of the time through this transformation working with you, I've done this at home. I've done it with a suspension trainer, a pull-up bar, and some dumbbells for the most part. It's only in the last, again, 6 months or so, 5-6 months, I've actually spent the time in an actual gym and gone out and using barbells to bench press. So at the moment, I'm bench pressing about 70 kg, which is about my own body weight.
That's great. Yeah, that's really good going. You benching that for reps, Stuart? Is that a 1 hour?
I'm up to sort of 3 sets of 6 now on 70.
That's really good. Yeah, that's a good standard. And that's a good point as well. Like, because sometimes some of the questions that I'll get from people is like, how do I build my chest? How do I get a bigger chest? And one of the simple things is, okay, like let's see what you can bench press right now, and I'm going to pull a number out my hat. Let's say someone can do, the person in question can do 40 kilos for 5 reps. Okay, once they get to 70 kilos for 5 reps, they have a bigger chest and they have big shoulders and they have bigger, more defined triceps and arms as a result of that. I think a lot of people think, just hammering a muscle group, the chest or any other muscle group, like with a lot of work in a small period of time, it should be looking better. But it's not the case. It'll feel like it's doing a lot of work because you're giving it a thrashing, but it's the progression over a long period of time and what your body can handle. So for weight training exercises, it's what weight they can lift for a given amount of reps, and then for a body weight example, it's like a press up, how many reps you can do, or increasing the challenge of the type of press up. So, for example, deficit press ups or suspension trainer or gymnastic ring press ups, and increasing your performance with those things, and focusing on building that slowly and gradually, not trying to rush it. So it's not a case of, okay, right, so if you bench press 40 kilos for 5 reps today, next week if you force yourself to bench press 70 kilos, you're going to like induce all this muscle gain. It's the long journey of gradually building up towards that.
Yeah, it takes time, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, mate. So let's move on to the nutritional side of things. What did your diet used to look like? Let's give us an example of what, because I think it'll be quite helpful for a lot of people to see where you were at before and how that correlated to the shape you were in, and then vice versa. So when you were overweight and knowing you had to make some changes and work on your fitness, what was the kind of day-to-day diet like then?
Crap. But yeah, again, I was having a little think about it this morning about, in terms of what it would have been, and I think about breakfast, it probably wouldn't have had breakfast. But then it would have been, a lunch wouldn't have been prepared, so it would have been something at work, or at the time I was doing a lot of driving between offices, so it'd be crappy sandwiches and crisps or a pie or that sort of thing, where you wasn't really full, and then there'd be more snacks, and then at home you get home and you have a big massive meal. And then I used to eat a lot of takeaways. I'd eat them at night. I'd eat them. I'd probably I'd eat my dinner, and then I'd probably have a takeaway as well at times. So it was just because it was crap that I was eating, and I wasn't eating enough in the day. I'd still be hungry at night, and then I'd eat stuff in the evenings. I wouldn't say I'd like a massive chocolate fan or something like that, but it was more volume and actually crap that I was eating. And then I wasn't doing anything on top of that, so I was sat around doing very little. But yeah, I guess snacking, what I was snacking on, and portion control on top of actually what I was eating, which was rubbish, was a bad combination, really.
Yeah. And to contrast that, mate, what does your typical day of eating look like now?
Right. Okay. So the big change that I made was protein with every meal, and that sort of protein with your breakfast was a big change for me, because immediately I felt fuller. I didn't feel, when I got to lunchtime, I didn't feel like I needed to stuff my face, or I was so hungry that I was making a bad choice. I had more. I felt I was hungry. I felt fuller. So again, now I'm kind of on, I would say 3 main meals in a day. Each one has got the would be protein involved, and as much where I can. So go on.
Yeah, so just to jump in on that. What type of protein? What are you using for your protein sources?
All of my meals, lunchtime and evening meals, will be, meat-based protein, lean protein. So for my lunch or dinner, it's going to be chicken, turkey, fish, beef, pork. So all of my meat, all of those meals are all going to be meat-based for me. In the mornings, particularly now when it's cold, I will probably like three times a week, maybe 4 times a week, I'll be on porridge with protein powder, fruits, like bananas, blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, that sort of stuff. Peanut butter in there, tasty, delicious. Gives you that little bit of sweet hit in the morning that you want. It's warm for this time of year, so that sort of thing I'll be eating it for breakfast. Lunchtime, like I say, it'll be a meat of some sort, fish, chicken, whatever. I am a little bit lucky that I do work from home probably 2 days a week, so I can cook at home. And then in the evenings, like I say, it's going to be, I'll probably have a salad at lunchtime, and then in the evenings it's going to be meat and vegetables, rice or sweet potatoes, things like that. And generally, that's pretty standard of what I would eat. And again, it might sound a little bit boring, but there's lots of things that I do to spice things up. I think that's a key to it. Really, is try and keep things interesting. Get to know what you like, but try and keep things as interesting as you can by mixing up the veggies, mixing up your salads, mixing up your fruits and things like that, just to keep it varied.
Yeah. It doesn't sound boring to me at all, mate. That's all the stuff that I like. And I was pretty much the same as you. There was no structure. There didn't used to be any structure to what I ate, and it was a very high sugar, processed foods based diet. Lots of takeaways, chip shop, KFCs, Chinese shops, and all that. I was going to say all that good stuff. It tastes good, but that doesn't lead to very, very good outcomes. I actually used to quite often have a chocolate muffin for breakfast, from McDonald's, so along with my coffee.
Oh, McDonald's breakfast, they will kill me. They always seem to be McDonald's near the office, so wherever you were going in, if you were going in and you wanted something to eat, there'd always be a McDonald's breakfast around the corner for you.
And it's changed days though. So, but sticking with the theme of the nutrition and the diet, what was the process of change like? Again, another common mistake that a lot of people will make is, starting Monday, cutting out everything, going on a diet, I'm going to smash it this time. Was it like a drastic overnight change for you, or was it a longer term process?
Let's say, I mean, if I'm being honest, it was a fairly, but I had multiple goes at this, so this time it kind of stuck. But I kind of went for it quite hard at first. I had a lot of weight to lose, but I kind of went for it I did go for it quite hard at first. From the rebirth program, when we brought in the protein and all that kind of stuff, I did quite go for it quite hard. But I did track my calories and all that kind of stuff. But over a period of time, I'd say gradually I still managed to enjoy. I've still eaten the foods that I enjoy. Let's say so. I managed to keep that element involved. So, even though I sort of went all in with it, I still let myself have the foods that I really want to enjoy. So and again, for different people do things in different ways. I mean, for me, tracking the calories at first for the calorie deficit was something that I did. It's not for everybody, and I've said that to you before. For me, it worked. I don't do it anymore, really, because I generally know what I'm eating and what calories I'm in and out. Really, not to the fact that exactly, but I kind of know what's going on now. So,
that's Just before you move on, this is actually a good topic to quickly talk over, because I've got experience with personally tracking calories and macros, and also not doing it and achieving the same results and getting quite lean and looking, really good. So, and as a coach, coaching people with calories, the reason I don't coach people with calories and I don't encourage it, it is a tool. I've got it in my toolbox, and I'll use it with some clients temporarily for a few days just to help them get some insights. Where a lot of the calories are coming from that they're eating. It can be quite eye opening and help teach them a lot of stuff that's going to be helpful for their fat loss and their weight loss. But I've just found personally, like a lot of people who will track calories. One, it's not really a habit as such that you're going to sustain long term, and two, for the majority of people, or maybe even everyone that I've seen use it through coaching them, have always, when they've stopped it, went back to where they were. Now, that doesn't mean that that's always going to happen if you use it smartly. But I do like to prioritize, just focus on building in better habits first, with more and moving the diet from having no structure to more of a kind of whole foods based diet, getting the protein right, the vegetables, the fruits and stuff, and getting the portion sizes, which in portion sizing in itself is a form of restricting calories, because you're being conscious of like how much is coming in, and you're being more consistent with your portion sizes. But then some people just do better with, at least for a short term, just looking at the numbers to see, what kind of foods have certain amount of calories and so on, and where they're going wrong. Maybe be it a weekend or something, over consuming in calories and those kind of things. So it can be helpful short term like that. And that's kind of the way I look at it. Some people will do better giving it a go for at least for a short while.
Yeah, I think it's all about education, isn't it? I think throughout that whole process is about understanding different types of foods, what you're putting in your mouth. Again, I know a lot more now than I did 2 years ago, in terms of the different types of food that I'm eating, what nutrients come from where, what types of vitamins and minerals and proteins and everything that I'm getting in my diet. It just was that knowledge wasn't there before. So again, that, over time, that gradually becomes, as I say, it becomes, you are changing the habits. Before, the habits were bad food, bad routine, bad, not eating breakfast, that sort of thing. Getting yourself, and now with the, it's taken a long time to change those habits into being new habits that are better and healthier for you. So those are ingrained. Those are so ingrained now that that's just a norm for me now. It's like that's an everyday to do something. The other way is now against what I would do on a daily basis.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Thanks for sharing that. We're going to backtrack a little bit on the training side of things.
Yeah.
Can you give us some tips that have helped you stay consistent and make time for training? Obviously, you've got a lot going on. You've got a kid, you've got your dog, you've got your work, and you're not the type of guy who lives in a gym. What's helped you stay consistent so long with that?
Can I show you something?
Aye. I like to show and tell.
Let me know if that comes up. See that?
Yes, that comes up. We can see that well.
That's my weekly battle plan. So on a Sunday, I have a reminder on my phone on a Sunday, 6:30. It comes up every week and says do my weekly battle plan, and that's where I sort of look at, right, what have I got going on next week? What time have I got for my workouts? What days will I be able to do them? And I write them down on the whiteboard each week. I kind of split it into 4. I'd say what exercise am I going to do this week? What days, what times have I got for walking? What have I got on at work? What food am I going to be eating? And what am I going to be doing for myself again? Because I always want to make sure that there's a block for things for me to do, whether it's little jobs to do, whatever. So I use that time on a Sunday to plan when I'm going to do my workouts. What I would say about that is once your family and people who are around you get used to seeing that, it helps them to buy in and helps them to, you know, to see when you're going to be busy doing your workouts, and you kind of makes it easier to block out that over a period of time. It makes it easier to block out that time for you to do your workouts.
Yeah.
So again, I've always got one eye on what's happening the week before, also, you know, in the coming week, so that I can plan when I'm going to have that time to do my workouts. I think that is what's, you know, that is a tip that I will give, is that, you know, get that planned in, get it communicated with the family over a period of time, and then all of a sudden that time becomes your time to do that, and it just becomes normal, you know, part of the normal family routine, really.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point, because anything that you change, like unless of course you're single, then if you're living with a family and you have other people around, then any change that you make is also a change on their life as well. So initially, there's going to probably be some wrinkles to iron out and some growing pains from that. But you know, once it's part of your routine, once it becomes your new normal, it's just kind of working hard at it at first, and then it will obviously just become a little bit more second nature. Plus, for everyone else, it becomes more accepted, more common knowledge, if you like. But that, for that initial period, it is going to take some strategizing, and that's something that I do. It's obviously something that we promote inside the coaching program. It's like having that weekly battle plan, where you first of all assess how the week just past us went, and taking any lessons from that, and then planning everything out on the next week. I use Google Calendar for it, but I like the whiteboard thing, because it's obviously visual, and you see things, and you know what your targets are for the week, and you get midway through the week and you're looking at those targets, like what have I ticked off. So that's really helpful. Appreciate that, Stuart. Thanks, no mate. Worries. How about food? What helps you stay consistent with eating better meals more often? Do you have any kind of tips that you can share on
that? Refer to battle plan again. No, my battle plan again. Yeah, it's never set quite in stone, but I will have, you know, I'll put on there what I think I'm going to eat for the week. Again, I'll think about what have I got on during the week. You know, what time have I got for cooking? And when am I going to be at work? What have I got on socially? If I've got hockey, whatever. And then I prepare for that. So again, they're simple things, and you'll hear about them all the time. So there's no rocket science here. But you know, if I'm cooking, I'll try and do batch cooking.
Yeah.
So, for example, if I'm steaming vegetables, then I'll just do 3 or 4 times the amount that I need. I'll literally just, if I have a cauliflower, I'll just do the whole lot. Carrots, the whole lot. Green beans, the whole lot. And then I'll just batch them up, and I'll have some for my dinner. I'll chuck them in the lunchbox for the next day, and I'll put 2 bags full of them in the freezer for another day, just for when I've got no time. Same with rice, things like that. I'll just cook tons of it, and I'll just put it in bags in the freezer, and I just know that when I get back, I've got something really quick. Meats, ground meats, again, I'll just buy them in bulk, put them into freezer bags into the portion size that I want, so I know how many grams of protein are in there, and how much, if I want, how many calories are in there as well. Plus, they cook really quickly. So, you know, with ground meats, chicken, beef, pork, whatever it is, turkey, you can fry that up with some vegetables in a pan, and it can be literally done in 10-15 minutes, and you've got everything you need. So again, it's about, again, planning and batch cooking where you can, you know, and just thinking about what meats you're going to eat. You know, say they fry up dead quick. So I've got loads of meals where I can be in the kitchen, and my meal can be on the table within 15 minutes, and they've got everything you need in them.
Thanks. That's really good advice, mate. And it's going back to that reality that any change with food is going to take a lot of work in the beginning, but you know, once you're settled into those new practices, it doesn't take a lot of thought. It doesn't take a lot of learning. It's now new, so it's good to break that down into small chunks, and maybe start like with one new meal. You know, pick some type of meal. It doesn't have to be a fancy recipe. It could just be like, batch cooking some chicken breasts or a whole chicken in the oven whilst you're also steaming some vegetables and cooking some rice or whatever. Put roast potatoes in for your carbs, and just prepping a bunch of those simple things that can all be put on simultaneously whilst you listen to something like this on YouTube. Do you know what I mean? Like kill multiple birds with one stone.
And just don't be afraid to get in the kitchen and have a go at try different things. I say it takes time to find everything that you like. And like I said before, try and make it interesting. I mean, I've got tons of spices and cook things in the cupboard that I like to put chilies on everything and make things different types of spices. So trying different things, keep it interesting again. And again, I've just put a note on here: communicate with family. Talk about what you're going to eat during the week.
Yeah, and what's good for you is good for them as well. And obviously, depending on the ages of what the kids are at and stuff, it can be a little bit difficult because maybe not everybody wants to eat the healthier stuff. But what I found is, like, once you've been doing it enough and the family start seeing the benefits, they see the shape you're getting in, how that's impacting your mood, your energy around them, and just the positive impact that then bleeds into everyone else. Other people in the family start to get inspired by that, and then they take action as well. Sometimes you see that influence kind of spreading through the whole family. But the change has to start with us. And even if, for any guys listen to this, if any of you are a little bit more challenged in the kitchen and not used to making the food, if it's the wife that usually cooks, just get started with something simple. So to give you an example, when I left the army in 2014, I couldn't cook. I could, but the last time I did real cooking was like in home economics class in high school. Prior to that, which was a good 13, 14 years before. And I remember the first time buying an avocado because apparently they were healthy for you. And I'm like, what the fuck do I do with this thing? I cut it open and I'm wondering, this nut in the middle, is this what you eat? I tried to bite it. I had no clue what to do with an avocado. I put it in the bin. Didn't look at another avocado for a couple of years. But I was practically challenged to the highest degree in the kitchen at that stage. And it's just take small steps. Just cooking something simple and building on those skills. So it's like, okay, this week I'm just going to try something. I'm going to cook a steak. Going to make some roast potatoes or even, homemade chips in the air fryer. Super easy. I'm going to steam some vegetables along with that. And it's just like trying something else the following week and just building on those skills.
Definitely, yeah.
Final question, Stuart, and then we'll wrap this up, mate. So obviously it's been a couple of years that you've been quite consistent in maintaining this progress, and on this journey. You have got to have experienced some challenging times where motivation falls off a cliff. How have you managed to sustain your consistency and training your body, eating good foods, and generally just how have you kept progress going? Because this is something that a lot of people struggle with. Like when the journey's not new and exciting anymore, and they're just like mood doesn't take them. Like how have you dealt with that?
Like I said, I've made a few notes about these things, and the first thing I'd like to make really clear, anyone watching, is there's been times that I've struggled for motivation. As I've fallen off the wagon for a period of time, and it's definitely not been a linear progress. That's over that period of time. But obviously, the progress is ultimately is continued. I guess again, it comes back to, for me, it always comes back to what the ultimate goal is. Why did I start off on the journey in the first place? What were my motivations? What were the ultimate goals at the end of it? And where am I along the road? And to those initial goals. How's the goals changed? So I kind of, again, I have long-term goals, short-term goals. So I always try and keep the long-term goals in focus. That's not by sitting there and reading about them every night saying, oh, what's my long-term goal? What's my I'll revisit that on a periodic basis, and I'll change what those have changed and will continue to change. and also keep my eyes on what the short-term goals are. So, I think that for me, keeping those goals in mind ultimately has kept me motivated along the path, really. I think there's a lot to be said for that. And I did mention to you, I think early in the week or last week, that I've been working on this with my partner herself. She's sort of seen what we've been doing, and she's got interested in setting goals and targets and things like that. And I think it's massively important that you keep those in mind, and that's helped me to continue towards those goals. Where sometimes it's a bit quicker, sometimes it stops for a bit, but then it picks up pace again.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I think that's what's kept me going for the long period of time.
When you say keep the goals in mind, do you mean like are you writing these things down and reflecting?
Yeah. So again, what the goals were when I first started with you 2 years ago were lose weight, start to feel healthy, start to feel happier, etc., etc. Where I am now is I'm probably most of the way towards the goals that I set initially, but those goalposts have changed again. So
yeah,
it's added extra into my career. It's into blah blah blah. I've worked on different areas, different aspects of my life along that whole journey, really. So I will jot them down, and I'll reflect on where I am and what I could be doing better. I'm far. The last note is I'm far from perfect. On this journey, I've still got a long way to go. There's lots of things that I can improve on, but again, nobody's going to be perfect, but we can make it. We can work towards those goals and make ourselves better. I think that ultimately most people want to do that, and that's what keeps me motivated, really.
Yeah,
along with family, I want to be there. I want to be healthy for my little boy. I want to be a good role model. All those things form part of that, really.
Yeah, I think too many people put a lot of pressure on themselves to keep performing at a high standard towards their goals, like a lot of us do when we first get started. You mentioned when you first started with me in the Rebirth program, like you did go quite all in. You went quite hard with a lot of the habits and the training and stuff. And I think that's easy to do because often when we get started because we feel it's a good time, or life is a little bit more giving us a little bit more freedom to work on this. We're also a little bit excited about it. But then 6 months down the line, or who knows, it might be 2 months down the line, like real life obligations that were unexpected pop up and make it very challenging. Maybe we're doing later nights, we're working a bit more, we're getting less sleep, we're stressed out, which is going to suppress motivation and enthusiasm to keep working on the goal. And when we compare how much we can practically commit at that stage versus how we were in month one, that can sometimes be very demotivating in itself. But we're never ever going to be able to do that. And I think that's important to understand, that part of achieving your goal is having that ability to turn the dial down. So, rather than training for an hour, maybe we're just doing part of the workout, and maybe we'll do the other half of it tomorrow. We'll break it up. Instead of 3 workouts a week, we'll just break it up into smaller ones every other day. And who's to say we won't get them done every day? We probably won't. There's got to be plenty of days where things just don't go to plan, but it's just learning to accept that we're not always going to be, performing up here. And there's going to be plenty of times with food and fitness that we're practicing, but at a much lower level, and that's okay. That works. That still takes us towards the goal in a year's time, and 2 years' time, and so on.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, again, I'm just thinking about the time of year it is now. I mean, where we are, it's coming on a roll up to Christmas.
Yeah.
This is the time of year where I'm dialing it back down a little bit. Yes, I'm trying to go get my 3 workouts in this week, but is my nutrition bang on this week? Probably not. Is it going to be bang on for the next few days? Probably not.
No.
But on the other side of that, I'll be looking forward to January and sort of getting back into, turning that dial back up and getting back onto it again. So again,
100%.
beat myself up about it over the next few days. Let's just enjoy it and then get back into what we've been doing. So.
Yep, same here. Feelings mutual. Definitely looking forward to indulging at Christmas and Boxing Day and the New Year, and then getting back into it in January. So that is all we've got time for. Stuart, I massively appreciate you coming on. I know this is going to be helpful for a lot of the guys in our programme for inspiration, and also anyone else following the social media pages on YouTube and Facebook and stuff. So thanks, viewers, listeners, for tuning in. Listen, if you've got any value from this, then do us a favour, drop a comment and let us know. Let us know what you took from it. If you have any further follow-up questions on it, then drop them as well. And if you are looking for some help to get started, make sure you go to the website and you can download the free Busy Dad Body Transformation Pack, and you can learn all about the skills and the tools that have helped Stuart and other guys that I coach get in shape whilst living a completely normal life. Stuart, thanks very much again for coming on board. I massively appreciate it. You have a great Christmas, and I'll see you again soon.
Okay, mate. Take care. Cheers.
Everyone.